You know that sharp, tangy bite of a lemon? Or, on the flip side, those super strong chemicals we use for a clogged drain? Well, that's acids and bases for you. They're literally everywhere, these chemical opposites, shaping our world in ways we probably don't even notice. So let's dive in and pull back the curtain on this amazing chemistry. And that contrast, it brings up a really interesting question, right? How can one thing be a tasty snack and another be, a major hazard? Figuring out that difference, what makes something safe versus dangerous, that's the mystery we're going to unravel today. Okay, so the secret to understanding acids, it actually comes down to one of the most common elements in the entire universe. Yep, it's all about hydrogen. But hold on, we're not talking about hydrogen gas floating around. The real star of the show here is the hydrogen ion. We write it as H+. So what is it? Just imagine a hydrogen atom that's lost its only electron. All that's left is a tiny, lonely, positively charged proton. And this little particle, it's super reactive. It's the source of pretty much all of an acid's power. And that brings us to a really simple but super powerful definition. An acid is basically any chemical that, when you dissolve it in water, just starts releasing hydrogen ions. You can think of it like this. The more of these H+ ions a substance just dumps into the water, the higher the concentration gets. And that's what makes an acid stronger and potentially a lot more dangerous. Okay, so if it's all about concentration, you've got to wonder, how do we actually measure it? How do we put a number on how acidic something is? Well, for that, we need a special kind of ruler. And believe it or not, this ruler has a pretty cool origin story. We have to go back to 1909. There's this Danish chemist, Søren Sørensen, and he's working in a brewery in Copenhagen. His job, make better beer. And to do that, he needed a really consistent way to measure acidity. And out of that quest for better beer, he ended up inventing the very system we still use today, the pH scale. The pH scale is just brilliant. It's so simple. It takes what could be a super messy and complicated measurement, that concentration of hydrogen ions we were talking about, and just boils it down to one single easy-to-read number, a scale from 0 to 14. It's like a universal language for acidity. So let's break down those numbers. It's really straightforward. Anything with a pH below 7, that's acidic. A pH of exactly 7 is perfectly neutral. Pure water is the perfect example. And any number above 7, well, that's what we call basic, or sometimes alkaline. Okay, now this is the part you really need to get. The pH scale is logarithmic. Whoa, I know that sounds like a complicated math word, but all it means is that every single whole number step isn't just one step up, it's a 10-fold jump. So a pH of 3 is actually 10 times more acidic than a pH of 4. And if you go down to a pH of 2, that's 100 times more acidic than pH 4. So these little number changes mean absolutely massive leaps in chemical power. All right, so we've covered the acidic half of the scale. But what about the other side? Let's hop over that neutral line at pH 7 and see what's going on in the world of bases. So yeah, what about all those numbers above 7? If everything below 7 is an acid, what are these things? Well, these are called bases, and they are the true chemical opposites of acids. If acids are like generous givers always trying to hand off their hydrogen ions, then bases are the eager receivers. They're just waiting there with open arms to accept them. They really do complete the other side of the story. And just like acids, bases are totally all around us. Think about cleaning stuff like ammonia or that box of baking soda in your kitchen. Even some medicines, like milk of magnesia, are bases. They usually have a bitter taste and they feel kind of slippery if you touch them, like soap. But don't let that fool you. A really strong base can be every bit as corrosive and dangerous as a strong acid. So when you boil it all down, it really is that simple. It all comes back to that one particle, the hydrogen ion. Acids are the producers. They flood a solution with H+. Bases are the scavengers. They go around pulling those same ions out of the solution. It's this perfect chemical push and pull. So you got to ask, what happens when these two opposites actually meet? What happens when the giver runs into the receiver? What happens is a chemical reaction called neutralization. It works like this. Acids release those hydrogen ions, H+, but a lot of common bases, they release an opposing particle, the hydroxide ion, or OH-. And when that H+ from the acid bumps into the OH from the base, they combine perfectly. And what do they form? H2O, just plain neutral water.
The acid and the base have literally canceled each other out. It's pretty amazing.
Now, this whole chemistry lesson isn't just for stuff in a lab or under your sink. This exact thing is happening inside of you right now. This delicate balance, it's not an exaggeration to say it's the foundation of life itself. And I really can't overstate this. Almost every single process in your body, from how your enzymes work to how oxygen gets carried in your blood, it all depends on keeping your pH in a super specific, narrow range. So maintaining that balance isn't just, a good idea for your health. It is absolutely essential for survival.
So how does our body pull off this incredible balancing act? It's like a chemical tightrope walk. Well, it uses these amazingly clever molecules that basically have dual personalities. The technical term is amphoteric, which just means they can switch hats. They can act like an acid or like a base, depending on whatever the body needs at that moment. And the perfect example? Amino acids, the building blocks of all our proteins.
Just take a look at how this works. A single amino acid molecule has two different parts. On one end, it's got a carboxylic acid group. That's the acid part. It can donate a hydrogen ion if the environment gets too basic. But on the other end, it has an amino group. That's the base part. It can grab a hydrogen ion if things get too acidic. They are the body's perfect little pH regulators, all in one molecule. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? From the simple sour taste of a lemon all the way to the incredibly complex proteins inside our cells, the whole story of acids and bases, all that giving and receiving, that neutralizing and balancing, it all comes down to the story of one tiny particle, the hydrogen ion, just being passed around from one molecule to another. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Our entire existence literally hangs on keeping this intricate chemical seesaw in perfect balance. So that leaves us with one final, big question. What happens when something comes along and tips the scales?